This year, I, Patrick Sullivan, will turn 29. My childhood aim was to marry a beautiful woman and start a happy family before I turned 30. I currently work as a white-collar professional and am single. Everyone erupts in applause when young girls declare that becoming a wife is their ultimate goal. However, I question why it surprises people when a man like me publicly expresses his desire to be married. My parents are as close as they can make me feel uncomfortable. They treat me almost like an intruder when I return home. Growing up with such parents, I developed a serious desire to find my forever companion and get married as soon as possible. I had planned to be married much sooner, but all of that has fallen through. Mike Anderson, my senior at work, takes a cigarette in the smoking area and says, "I'm amazed by how strong your desire to get married is." I work at a large printing company with Mike. I work in the design department, and Mike is in sales. Despite working in different departments, we are close enough to be friends. I use my designs in response to his sales. We undoubtedly share similar sensibilities, and our good communication makes our jobs easier. Additionally, Mike frequently assigns me difficult projects that keep me engaged. We now hang out both privately and professionally, exchanging information at the company's smoking area on a daily basis. Nothing is wrong with it. I'm also desperate to fulfill my desire just before my aim of turning 30 comes around. The other day, I went to a party that didn't work out either. Mike was the cause. He was so attractive that he attracted all of the party's women's attention. Once, I even requested him not to attend the party. Well, there is no way to avoid it. I'll inform her ahead of time that this is for marriage, but I'll also introduce you to a particular girl. Is that acceptable? As he exhaled smoke from his cigarette, Mike said, "Even though I've known him for a while, Mike has never presented me with a girl. It was an unexpected development. He must have wished me well. I have no doubt that the girl you're introducing to me, Mike, will be stunning." "I'm excited about it," I said. Mike arched one of his eyebrows in a somewhat arrogant manner at what I said. "Hey, how long is your smoke break going to last, you two? You're still working. Stop being lazy." Johnson, my immediate supervisor, shouted from the other side of the smoking area. Despite being the head of the design department, he has little power. He has recently had a string of losses and competitions, and the corporation does not hold him in high regard. Our team, Mike and I, has one of the best sales records in the business. Many people are jealous of us. Among the largest among them is Johnson. Well, it's not a good idea to be singled out by the employer for whatever reason. I snuck my cigarette out of the ashtray and extinguished it. "I'm depending on you to make the introduction, Mike," I answered. "We can discuss specifics later," and walked out of the smoking area. Mike raised one hand and shrugged casually. He began tinkering with his cell phone right away, which led me to believe he might be calling the person he was introducing me to. I felt a surge of excitement as I considered that. It is my hope that the fateful encounter will be waiting for me this time. Hope filled my chest, and then I hit rock bottom the very next second. Shop cards and postcards for the new range of a well-known clothing company that I designed were on the meeting table. Johnson and the division chief were standing in front of me. It was the division chief who said, "Can you explain what happened here?" There was a color-correcting error. It seems that things have changed since my last meeting. I, the principal designer, had not received any reports. Actually, there was no proof that my team had even been presented with a report. I clarified that I had not been notified of any modifications to color correction. It didn't feel good to be held responsible for something I don't remember. It is no longer relevant. How are we going to handle all of these printed copies? We have no time to create new ones. Who will offer an apology? Johnson inquired, adding, "None of that matters now." I thought it did matter, but I also realized that we didn't have time to argue if we wanted to minimize the impact on the client. Regardless, our only option is to reprint. but the printing press is. Johnson began, trying to say that the press wasn't available for reprinting. It was his job to sort that out. Just then, the conference room door flung open. I got the printer. Hurry up with the design. Mike had popped in through the door. He had apparently sprung into action as soon as he heard about the incident. What a reliable senior he is. Prompted by Mike's voice, I quickly grabbed the new color correction data and sample, then hurried to my desk. You're going to take responsibility. Johnson shouted after me as I darted away, repeating it like a broken record. The fact that we managed to get the client to delay the delivery date by 2 days was all thanks to Mike's efforts, but Johnson seemed to be reporting all the credit to himself. It was typical, but still bothersome. The remaining issue was the misprinted deliveries. Who was going to take the fall for this error? It seemed to be me. That day, as I was frantically working on a new design, it seems Johnson reported to the upper management, including the director, that the error was due to my oversight as the team leader. Johnson insists that my signature was on the color correction document. By the way, that document is currently missing. Now that this whole commotion is over, I am being asked to voluntarily resign at a meeting in the CEO's office. Voluntary resignation. I couldn't help but repeat in surprise. The reasons given were the extensive damages caused to the company and my inability to follow the basics: reporting, communication, and consultation. Even such trivial things were being nitpicked, probably as a result of Johnson reporting anything and everything to the higher-ups. It was decided that I was the culprit. By offering my head to the client, they aimed to sweep this mistake under the rug. I could sense that kind of intention from above. At this point, I have absolutely no options. You can take some time to consider this. Just keep in mind, we're expecting a positive response, they said. Stunned by what was essentially a layoff notice, I could hardly react. Just when I was about to be introduced to a potential bride by Mike tomorrow, I received this resignation notice, and I'm on the verge of becoming jobless. In this situation, it's irresponsible to say, let's date with marriage in mind. I will apologize to Mike and cancel the introduction for tomorrow. That was what I was thinking, but Mike just brushed it off, saying it didn't matter. Don't look so glum. I'm going to take you to a great place to lift your spirits, he said. There's no way. Mike doesn't know about my layoff notice. Before I could refuse, Mike was jeering, like a mischievous boy. Arm over my shoulder, he practically dragged me to a certain location. It was a world I'd never stepped foot into, a night pool at a certain hotel. It's a popular place and requires reservations. Of course, no one under 18 is allowed. The lighting and music create a different atmosphere than during the day. Today, there's a DJ, so it's more of a beach vibe rather than moody. There's alcohol, so it seems like the perfect place to forget my troubles. I've never been to a place like this before. I was overwhelmed by the sights unfolding before my eyes. Girls in revealing swimsuits were happily walking past. Just watching them was a feast for the eyes. I know you've got a lot on your plate, but just try to enjoy tonight. You can worry about everything else tomorrow, Mike said. I figured that was his way of offering comfort. I'd think about tomorrow when it came. I decided to enjoy the time being. Mike quickly disappeared somewhere, having been called over by a girl. The popular guys always have it good wherever they are. I couldn't muster up the courage to approach any of the girls, let alone be approached by any of them. It was such a waste to just space out by the poolside. I decided to make the most out of the pool itself. I resolved to just swim. I love swimming, and being underwater was soothing. The strange sensation of swimming while listening to music and the sounds of excitement was oddly calming. At that moment, something colorful floated slowly towards me, stopping right before my nose. Picking it up with my fingers, I examined the object that had barely brushed my nose. It was a bikini top, and the moment I realized it, I felt as if my face was on fire. If it was here, that meant it belonged to someone, right? I started looking around frantically, thinking she must be embarrassed. Then a woman, only her head visible above the water, came up to me. Her face flushed with embarrassment. That's mine," she hesitated, pointing at the bikini top I held in my hand. "Oh, sorry. It just floated over," I stammered, handing her the bikini top. "Will you take responsibility for what you've seen?" she asked shyly, requesting I shield her back from view while she put her bikini top back on. Without a second thought, I hid her from view. My friend pushed me so hard on the water slide I went flying. I was so scared. She laughed after putting her bikini top back on. Her radiant smile was incredibly charming. "Mary, did you find it?" A voice, probably her friend, called out to her from a distance. The woman, called Mary, answered, "I found it," in a voice that carried over the music. "Thanks. You saved me. You're quite the gentleman." She poked me in the forehead with a slender finger. Startled, I froze in place, and she chuckled softly. "See you," she said, leaving me frozen in place as she swam off toward her friends. I blankly watched her slender white back as she swam away. "Oh, you've already met? That's her, Mike," someone said. "What do you mean?" I asked. Mike, who was squatting by the poolside with a cocktail in one hand, was even cool from a guy's perspective. "I was going to introduce you to her. Her name is Marion Sen," he told me. He said she was his childhood friend. They were from the same hometown, and she was like a little sister to him. She's also very interested in getting married, just like you. You're the same age, so I thought you'd get along. It's better to have someone with similar values, right? Hearing that she was the one I was supposed to meet tomorrow, feelings of happiness and disappointment welled up inside me at the same time. I'm a man about to be unemployed. I was certainly not in a situation suitable for marriage. She too has a strong desire to get married. There's no way she would consider me, a guy who's not suited for marriage. I think the best option would have been to turn down Mike right here and now, but I wanted to see her just one more time. She was that captivating. Am I good enough for her? I wondered. I mean, she's a good friend from your childhood, right? Mike asked, but my question was drowned out by the loud music. It didn't seem to reach his ears. The next day, I headed to the designated Chinese restaurant. I was set to have lunch in a private room. It's a famous place for dim sum lunch, and you can't get in without a reservation. I'm grateful for Mike's connections. It seems I'd arrived first and was led to an empty private room. I was a bit nervous. Nothing has been officially decided about my situation yet. The company is insistent on it being a voluntary resignation. Either way, it's disappointing, but considering Mary's future, I should honestly convey this and decline. That's what I had decided in my heart. "Your companion has arrived," I was told quietly. I straightened my back, my nervousness peaking. The woman who entered, making the sound of heels, was someone I had never seen before. She gave a small nod to the waiter and sat down in the chair. Watching her flowing movement, I felt she was used to being served. "I'm Jennifer Smith," she said with a smile. She seemed like a woman with some kind of shadow, and her age was unclear. She seemed young, but also looked older than me. After finishing the drink order and the waiter left the private room, I raised my voice. "Excuse me, you aren't really Marion Sen, are you?" Then the woman, who had been smiling gracefully until a moment ago, clicked her tongue. "Well, it's obvious. We met last night. Even though it was dark, Mary and I are as different as night and day," she said in a defiant manner. She introduced herself as Jennifer Smith. She claimed to be an old friend from the same hometown as Mike and Mary. It seems that it was her who had called out to Mary last night. Today, she said she had come as a stand-in at Mary's request. She didn't really want to be introduced. "Okay, whether you're married or not, there's something I have to say," I began. I talked about my imminent voluntary resignation and bowed my head, asking her to pretend this introduction never happened. Jennifer pulled out a portable vaporizer from her bag and slowly exhaled the smoke. "But that's not what I'm here to talk about," she said, ignoring my desperate explanations. Jennifer asked for my help. She wanted to talk about two people, Mike and Mary. These two had always been close, but not too close. More than friends, but not quite lovers, as they say. The reason their relationship wasn't moving forward was because of Mike. When we all went to the summer fair together, Mike's mother disappeared. Mike has been waiting for her ever since. Apparently, this incident traumatized him, and he's had a hard time trusting women since then. Sure enough, Mike, despite being quite popular, never seemed to stick with one woman. He welcomed all who came and never chased after those who left. That was the nature of Mike's relationships with women. "I'd want you to help them get together," said Jennifer, looking straight into my eyes. Seeing my hesitation, she slid a business card across the table. The name of the company that had caused a problem the other day was on the card. Her title was Group Owner. I looked at the card in shock. "If you help me, we can pretend your mistake never happened." I extended my right hand at this enticing offer. "Understood. Leave it to me." We shook hands, confirming our alliance. I got a full briefing of Jennifer's plan and decided to put it into action right away. Jennifer contacted Mary first. She told Mary, with a hint of panic, everything's been exposed. She then convincingly portrayed me as furious and uncontrollable. "Sorry, I'll be right there," I heard from the other end. I called up Mike and gave him a piece of my mind with a level of assertiveness you wouldn't usually expect from me. I told him how disrespectful it was to use a stand-in. Mike agreed to come right away, and the call ended. They seem complicated, but they're actually simple and honest, Jennifer remarked before the pair arrived. We hurriedly finished up our ramen. We didn't want to waste our food. We both laughed as we burned our tongues on the hot dumpling. There was something oddly comfortable about the whole situation. "Your guests have arrived," a waiter announced as the peach buns and mango pudding were being served. Jennifer clicked her tongue in front of the enticing desserts. She must have been really looking forward to them. Wiping her mouth with a napkin, Jennifer gave a mischievous grin and said, "All right, let's start." "Jennifer, are you okay?" Mike burst into the private room. Looking at his face, Jennifer brought on the waterworks in less than 5 seconds. I was left shocked by her Oscar-worthy performance. "Mary doesn't want to be set up, but it's out now," he said in such an incredibly angry manner. Crying, Jennifer implored Mike. Behind Mike, Mary stood frozen, her hand over her mouth in surprise. Enough with the mockery. Using a stand-in. If you didn't want the introduction, why accept it in the first place? You just wanted to laugh at my strong desire to marry, didn't you? With all the acting skills I could muster, I shouted at Mary, who was standing frozen behind Mike. Mary's shoulders jerked in fright. Mike immediately moved to shield Mary with his back. Jennifer, looking down, gave a faint smile. It was a strangely calm smile. "Calm down, man. Don't shout at women," Mike retorted. You're no better, Mike. Why would you introduce such a woman using a stand-in? Because she didn't want to come. Is that the type of woman you thought would suit me? A mean-spirited woman? I didn't hold back on shouting at Mike either. I've never been this confrontational with anyone in my life. Mike seemed taken aback by my onslaught, unable to find his words. Perhaps because I'm usually so polite, he must have thought I was truly enraged today. "Mary, why don't you want the introduction? You want to get married, right? So why not me? Why do you dislike the introduction so much? It's so mean to use a stand-in." I tried to appeal to Mary, who was looking at me in fear from behind Mike. Her expression began to distort as if she was about to start crying. In the next moment, she bowed so deeply her forehead almost touched her knees. "I'm sorry. I thought that if I agreed to the introduction, Mike would stop it. I only pretended to be desperate for marriage in front of him. I didn't mean to hurt you." Tears spilled from Mary's eyes. If you're in love with someone, please don't agree to any introductions. It's a nuisance. The moment I took a step towards Mary, Mike grabbed my collar. Don't keep saying terrible things to Mary. I'm the one who brought up the introduction, not her. She did nothing wrong. I had to stand on tiptoes as tall as Mike. When I glanced at Jennifer, begging for help, she clenched her fist and silently mouthed, "Good luck." I wish she wouldn't make impossible demands. Just when I thought I might pass out from the strain, it was Mary who came to my rescue. "Mike, stop it. It's my fault. I should have refused the introduction when it came up. I thought you were testing me, so I went along with the introduction intending to cause you trouble." Upon hearing Mary's confession, Mike let go of my collar. I fell back on my butt. "This is a big inconvenience to me, being used as a pawn," Mike said. "It's about time you gave in." The one who spoke to the bewildered Mike was Jennifer. "It's a real nuisance to everyone that those two, obviously in love with each other, keep missing each other. Moreover, they're both so attractive. The fallout is extensive." Spurred by Jennifer's words, Mike reached out and held Mary's hand. Then, in a soft voice, he said, "Is it really okay if it's me?" It was a more juvenile voice than I'd ever heard from the Mike I knew. Mary, with a tearful smile, gently embraced Mike, saying, "Of course it is." It felt like Mike's clock had started ticking again from that summer festival night. "Now please go home, you two. We're going to eat some peach dumplings and mango pudding." Jennifer, who had burst into tears just 5 seconds ago, was already sitting back comfortably in her chair, smoking a hookah and crossing her legs. Seeing her like this, Mike quickly realized that this was all an act. Mary seemed to be savoring the happiness of confirming her mutual feelings with Mike, completely oblivious to the farce. "Patrick, sorry for all the trouble." "Thank you," Mike said over his shoulder, hugging Mary as they were about to leave the room. I waved a large hand, sending a silent best of luck as I saw them off. Once they were out of sight, I suddenly felt all the exhaustion flooding over me. "Jennifer, you had it pretty easy," I said with a side glance at Jennifer, who was enjoying her peach dumplings. "Don't be ridiculous. I lost something valuable. I'm the real victim here," Jennifer said with a straight face. Even I, oblivious as I am, could tell that she must have had feelings for Mike. "So if you feel like consoling me, give me that mango pudding." "No way. I'm exhausted, and I need something sweet too." So there we were, two heartbroken individuals fighting over dessert. Timing is everything in marriage. "Just wait, and you'll find someone," Jennifer said as she punched my shoulder on the way out. I believe she was trying to cheer me up. "So is it okay if I ask you out next time? I know a place that has amazing all-you-can-eat cake." At my words, Jennifer turned back with a surprised look and said, "I'll think about it and get back to you." Laughing, workplace trouble resolved, and a new potential love interest identified. I was sure that Jennifer would get back to me with a yes. I was absolutely certain of it.